I'm Debbie Harmon Ferry, Director of Alumni and Parent Relation, here with another Tips for Parents. Today, we're joining you from Student Central in the newly renovated garden level of Melrose Hall. My guest is Ellen Crabtree, Director of Academic Advising. Hello, Ellen.
Hi, Debbie.
Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
You bet. At what point in a student's academic career is it important to declare a major?
I think students should really declare a major when they feel ready to do so. You know, if they have a particular academic area that really interests them, that they feel passionate about, and they want to pursue, even if they're not 100% sure, I think it's worthwhile to go ahead and declare. For a couple of reasons. I think first, if they are pretty certain about it, by declaring, students will certainly then have a faculty member who's their advisor in that department. So they'll have a little bit deeper level of advising within that particular discipline. Students would better engage with faculty in that department as well and really dig into that major, the academic components of it, the requirements, and the professional opportunities that are associated with that, post-graduation. Often those faculty in the department tend to know the alumni stories really well too, which those kinds of examples can really resonate with a student who is just deciding on a major. So with that kind of opportunity for depth in the field, I think a student can make a more informed decision of, it's a reaffirmation. I am so happy with this major. I love it. The more I get into it and learn about it, the more I enjoy it. Or once a student's engaging at that level, they could find out, wow, this is not what I thought it was. And then kind of use that information and what they liked about the major and what they don't, and what they've learned about themselves through this process to seek another major. So it helps make a student make a more informed decision, which I think is always the key. The main thing is for students to be really thoughtful and intentional in their major discernment, and we offer a lot of tools to help students identify majors in that way too. There are a couple of institutional policies at play that I want to make sure that parents are aware of. One is that students can't declare a major here at Linfield until after the conclusion of their first semester, because we want students to come to Linfield as a first-year student prepared to explore, to be open to possibilities, to be open to taking classes they maybe hadn't had familiarity with that discipline before, and it's really important to our advising philosophy and to, I think, our institutional mission. So not to be pigeonholed too early into a particular area, although students, of course, are welcome to take courses and are encouraged to take courses in academic areas that interest them, or possible intended majors right from the get-go.
It's sort of comforting in a way for parents of first-year students who may have come in undecided or undeclared, because really they're where they should be right now.
Oh, absolutely. And plenty of students also think they're very sure about what they want to study, and that's going to change too. And it's just fine to come in undeclared. And we have very intentional processes to help students learn more about themselves, learn more about academic areas of study, and partnering with career development and faculty. What can a student do with those different academic areas to really make that connection, particularly in the liberal arts majors, what a student can do professionally with that kind of academic background, which there's many, many things. But those kinds of things, a student needs to be, I think, really engage with faculty and career development to kind of create their own path, as opposed to some majors where a path seems fairly straightforward. Anyway, so there's some different things to think about there.
And I suppose some parents may have concerns the other direction. Is there a time that's too late to declare a major in order to still be on track?
Right. Well, we do require students to declare a major by the time they've earned 45 credits, which is usually sometime in the sophomore year. And we do that because we, it's institutionally and in the advising office, we want students to graduate on time as much as students and parents want to. So usually by the time the students earn 45 credits, that's a good benchmark, where if they have already been following a major path but haven't declared, and perhaps haven't engaged as fully there, or they are a little bit stuck in terms of major discernment, we can catch those students and support them effectively to help get them on track into graduating on time. There are a few majors or a few areas where declaring a little bit earlier might be helpful, or at least taking introductory classes really intentionally in the first year to help students decide, is this right for me or is it not? Athletic training would be a good example of that. Some pre-nursing prerequisite classes would be a good example of that. But for the most part, students can declare a major in their sophomore year and still graduate on time if they had some good planning in their freshman year while they were exploring by taking Linfield curriculum, general education classes that would be introductory classes to potential majors, but also be counting towards general education requirements, and just be really thoughtful and self-aware and intentional about what do I want to study, what are the different options here, and taking these different classes to kind of keep their options open and set them up for success in a variety of different ways. And our advisors are trained to help students do that effectively.
You mentioned advisors. How are those academic advisors assigned, and how easy or difficult is it to change advisors if students want to do so?
Okay. Well, we offer a new student advising program here at Linfield that is initially kind of facilitated through a colloquium class. So a colloquium class is required of all first-year students, and it's a transition class. It's 1 credit taught by a faculty member and an upper class student, usually a junior or a senior. So we pre-enroll students into those colloquium classes generally by academic discipline. So if a student, for example, wants to be a biology major, at least that's what we understand to be the case from the information that the student put down on their admission application, then we try to pre-enroll that student into a colloquium class taught by a member of the faculty in the natural sciences, if not specifically biology. We also, or perhaps a peer advisor is a biology major, but the faculty member might be, in a other related field. So we make those assignments with an intention to kind of honor this idea. We want students to explore. We don't want them to be so focused on a particular area that they lose those opportunities to kind of think through at the beginning. What's out there, what are the possibilities I haven't considered before, and make an informed decision. But we also want to honor, if students interested in this, then how can we connect them in a useful way to that department. So that's how they're initially assigned. It's not an exact science. We have faculty that vary from year to year that are teaching the colloquium class, and depending on the disciplines that are represented by the faculty teaching colloquium, that's our pool. And sometimes that doesn't work out exactly with the faculty, with the student, the makeup of our student body coming in the freshman class. One important aspect of this colloquium class is that not only are the faculty and peer advisors, or the faculty and students who are teaching the colloquium class, the instructors for the transition support, but they're also the faculty and peer advisors. So that's the introduction that our students have to the advising process here at Linfield. Those faculty and peer advisors are trained in advising in any discipline, in any major, so they can really, in a quality way, set students up for success in a very, very specific major, or in if a student's kind of really exploring and thinking about a lot of different options, they can help advise a student well so they can keep those options open and still be graduating on time even while they're exploring some very specific different options. It's really unusual for us to change colloquium sections for students. So that's difficult to do, and we need a really specific reason to be able to make that change. However, once the first semester ends and students are ready to declare a major, it's very easy to change advisors. Well, usually I should say, students change advisors at the point of declaring a major. A student could remain undecided and declare and choose a different advisor too, and we can help them with that. But usually it has to do with major discernment. So students at the conclusion of their first term can, usually they are referred to an advisor in a department by their current advisor, their colloquium instructor, or by my office, the academic advising office here in Student Central, or often students have taken introductory classes in the area that they're interested in, and it's that instructor in the class that they really connected with that they would ask to be their advisor. So those are all different ways a student could have a new advisor assigned. One kind of surefire way for a student to identify a new advisor in a particular department is to contact the department chair. And if they're unsure who that person is, my office can help them, or their colloquial faculty advisor can help them. Often the department chair, who knows best the different areas of expertise of his or her department faculty, can assign an advisor to a student in an effective way, because it's really matching what the student's exact interests are within that academic area, and what the faculty members' interests are too, and they match that up really carefully.
Can you tell us a little bit about the timeline for registering for spring semester, and what does that process look like?
Well, I've alluded to this, but haven't fully stated. At Linfield, we have a mandatory advising system. So for current students, they're required to have an advising meeting, at least one, with their faculty advisor prior to registration for every term. So with spring semester registration, happens every year, usually around early November. So we'll open registration for Jan term, and spring semester current students will register for next fall around the mid-April timeframe also. Usually the list of course offerings, they'll be available in the coming term, is published by the registrar's office about 3 weeks prior to when registration begins. So students should be cognizant of those dates, and the registrar's office communicates when the new course offerings are published.
And can I clarify, when you say published?
Published.
Is that a physical something that students are given, or is that an online?
Not. It's an online.
Okay.
Yes, it's still publishing, kind of.
I'm old school.
So the list of course offerings would be updated in WebAdvisor, the student portal, and also on the registrar's list of course offerings on the registrar's website. So when that comes available, that kind of marks the beginning of advising in a lot of different ways. So students should be reviewing that list of course offerings, should review carefully their program evaluation, also called a degree audit, in WebAdvisor, that shows the student's intended academic plan, whether they're undeclared at that point or their major, and how the courses that they've taken or transferred in to Linfield, to what degree those courses have satisfied their academic plan. So it's a good map to follow. So students can carefully use these tools to really identify what courses they might take in the coming term and in future terms, and have that kind of mapped out, and come to an advising appointment they've scheduled with their faculty advisor with all that information. Because their advising session shouldn't just be, what classes am I going to take next term? Advising can be much more than that. It's a learning process in which advisors can kind of help students navigate the college process on the academic side, and in terms of growth and personal development and self-awareness, and internships or graduate school or work opportunities, all these different kinds of things students are navigating and forming. Advisors can support in that. So it's important that students really think about, what do they want to get out of an advising appointment? What are their expectations for their faculty advisor or mentor? And to be also aware of what are the faculty advisor's expectations of them. Because it's a two-way street, it's a relationship. And like many things, the more a student can be prepared and put into the advising relationship, the more they're going to get out of it.
I know that first-year students register for the first time based on the date they submitted their matriculation fee. So the fee that says, I'm intending to enroll at Linfield College.
Right.
The earlier they submit that date, or the matriculation fee, the earlier they will register.
Right.
What is the determining factor moving forward?
It's the number of credits that a student has earned, not including the current credits that they're currently enrolled in. So the registrar's office also publishes a registration schedule online. At the same time, they put up the list of course offerings. So it shows different blocks of registration opening for students based on the number of credits. So, for example, this coming cycle, registration will begin November 3rd, Monday, and students with 112 credits or something like that will have the first block with registration open to them, the earliest it's available on November 3rd. And then throughout that day, at different times, different blocks of students based on the number of credits registration will open for them. So students need to look in WebAdvisor to see how many credits they have earned at this point, not including their current enrolled classes, and then decipher which block they can start. So they can register, that's when they can start, and then they can register all through the rest of the term and through January or through Christmas break or winter break. And then WebAdvisor will close for adding and dropping classes right when the beginning of January term.
And is that an online process, or do they physically go somewhere?
It's online. It's all online, just like they did in the summertime.
And what can you tell me about how often is it the case that students are unable to get the classes they want or need? And do you have a sense of whether or not that affects the rate at which they're able to graduate?
Sure. It's very seldom. In fact, I don't know of any case in which a student hasn't gotten the classes that they need to graduate. That's why the students with the most credits are scheduled to register early, so that we can prioritize the students who really need those classes have the first opportunity to register for them. The definition of need here is really important because it can be desirable for a student to take classes at a particular time frame based on a number of factors. But if it's possible to graduate by rearranging that schedule a little bit and maybe take that class the next semester, then the student who really needs that class this semester to finish is going to get the priority spot. But for the most part, students get the courses that they need to graduate on time. And the way our system is set up facilitates that. Also, the registrar's office is very careful about promoting and having students follow an application to graduate process or intent to graduate process. That's really helpful for this too. So I want to mention this, that students should apply for graduation or submit this application a year in advance or 2 semesters in advance. It's online through WebAdvisor now as well. It used to be paper up until just a couple of months ago. And that kicks off this process where the registrar's office does a manual check of the program evaluation the student already has access to in WebAdvisor, just to make sure that the student is on track. And then they can clearly articulate what the student needs left to graduate. So if there's any kind of miss, or if a student had overlooked something, or the advisor and the student hadn't fully fleshed out a conversation about what requirements are still outstanding, the registrar's office will kind of kick off that process of saying, if you want to graduate in summer of 2016, it's a year out from there and you need this many credits to graduate and these requirements. It gives a student and an advisor enough time to potentially replan their academic plan or schedule a little bit to make sure they're going to graduate on time. That also, because the student's so engaged in their major departments, usually it's those major level classes, right, that a student needs to finish. And with a faculty advisor model, that's one of the great things in it, is that the faculty are so plugged into the department, they know which students need which classes to graduate, and they're going to take care of their students. Students are going to finish on time.
Well, that is all the questions we had for you. Is there anything else you'd like parents to know but that we've not yet covered?
That we are so dedicated to student learning, in the academic advising office. Just myself and another assistant director coordinate the advisor program, but it's a faculty advisor model exclusively. And that I would like students to take advantage of that mentoring opportunity in a more meaningful way sometimes. And sometimes students are unsure about how to proceed with that, or parents are unsure about how to support their students in making good academic choices. So I would like parents to really know that faculty advisors are here to support students, that my office is here to provide extra support in any case. If a student just has a question and isn't sure where to go to get that answer, academic advising is a good spot. So I hope they come visit us in Student Central, and parents can contact us or encourage their parents to come visit us too, particularly for students who are undeclared, or for students who were so sure about that major when they came as a first year student and now have realized that that's not the major for them. And in some cases that can even be a little bit more frightening. So visiting our office can really be a useful tool for those students to help them find a new path.
Thank you for joining us, Ellen.
Thanks, Debbie.
So parents, there you have it. There are resources available for you and for your students. Remind them about academic advising, that office is open to them, and that faculty advisors are a good resource that they should learn to use those. Next time, we'll be talking about students returning home for the holidays and what parents might expect out of that experience. Until then.